Hello again, everybody. This is Joe Larson and Chuck Schultz. You're watching the 505 on Racing Show. And tonight we're going to talk about Daytona, New Smyrna, and Vegas, and some other NASCAR news when we come back.
Inravio.com.
Welcome back, everybody. A lot to talk about tonight.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, we got a couple of rain dates going on and, all of that, and before you know it, you got tons of stuff going.
Tons of stuff. It is amazing what went on. I mean, with Daytona, with the rain and having to race on Monday, which is why we weren't live Monday, because Daytona was live. So I don't think anybody was going to watch us when Daytona's
No, nobody was going to watch us, that was for sure, so we knew that was going to happen.
So what we've done is, so we're going to still talk about it, even though everybody probably has results in it, but we're still going to talk about Daytona. But before we get into Daytona, New Smyrna ran that same week during what they call Speed Weeks at the New Smyrna Speedway with the World Series of Asphalt Auto Racing. And Matty Hirschman won the Richie Evans Memorial 100 during Speed Weeks at the New Smyrna Speedway. And speaking of tour-type modifieds, word on the street is that Tyler Ripkema has purchased cars from the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour 2019 championship-winning number 2 team of MS3 Racing, Mike Slamurglia. The car was driven by Doug Coby, who was a 6-time NASCAR Whelen champion. The defending champion is still without a ride for 2020, which is, I find that baffling. The guy's a 6-time champion, the defending champion, and cannot get a ride in a series. Is it politics? Is it he doesn't get along with people? I know.
How much does he want to get paid?
Well, you know what? A lot of these guys in that series, they're racing for the hardware, and the team owners are racing for the money. And I'm sure there's got to be a team with equipment that Doug could hop into. And I reached out for Doug. I didn't get a response, but what I did see in social media was his crew chief. His crew chief, who does this full time as a crew chief, and I know what he makes, and it's nobody's business. He's out of work, and he's been out of work since the team shut down in November. Mm-hmm. And that's what he did for a living. He was the crew chief for the 2-car and other cars over the years. And at one point, whatever parts and equipment they had left is gone. It's all gone. They don't even have a shop anymore.
It's at some point you have to say to yourself, this labor of love is a little more labor than love.
Yeah,
right. And ultimately, as much as we think that all of these people make tons of money doing what they're doing and racing on these levels, it's really not necessarily the case. Yeah. And it costs money to do any kind of a hobby that you want to do, and
right.
And really, it's an expensive hobby.
Right. Very expensive. I had asked Eric Sanderson, who was the owner of the Flamingo Motorsports team on the Modified Series, the year they won the championship. I said to him, off the cuff, I said, what'd you make this year? He goes, well, we're pulling from money and purses and whatnot. I made a little over $100,000. Sounds like a lot of money.
Not really when you think about a team.
Because it cost me $250,000 to make that 100. My accountant thinks I'm a nut. And that's what he told him.
That's true. I mean, it's very difficult to make money at racing.
Yeah. But
you're not going to support yourself if that's what you think you're going to do. And a lot of these teams, I know truck teams that they went to Daytona and they had to beg, borrow, and steal to get to Daytona to do what they had to do. And you're talking 7 figures to get to Daytona.
Oh, easy for one race. And the 2 team of Doug Coby, they were sponsored by Mayhew Tools. Right. And of course now they've backed out because their deal was with Mike Slamurglia. Mm-hmm. And I know Mike Slamurglia on a personal level. The man is a CPO. He owns a CPA firm that deals in commercial, accounting. And So, he had his fun for a bunch of years, and now it's time to do other things.
Now
and
it's time to
spend
do
more
other
time
things.
with his family. And, Doug owns a real estate brokerage, so he's okay.
Right. He's
but-
got plenty of stuff going on
Right,
himself.
but Phil Moran doesn't.
And you
It's a
know what?
shame.
A lot of these sponsors, are they really paying dollars and cents? Are they paying top dollar? What are they paying?
Depends on-
You see a name on it. Well, I got a good sponsor. That means nothing.
Right, exactly.
I mean, I remember, a local track guy, and the announcer was telling me that he's like, he was telling the announcer, he's like, I don't have any money to go racing. He's like, how is that possible? You got names all over your car. He goes, they're just people I know. I put their names on.
Yeah.
And not necessarily are you getting any money out of these
No,
people.
no, not at all.
They give you $100 or something. And
Yeah,
really,
that's
it's a drop.
When you have a 20-week race season, you get $100. I mean,
You get $100, it costs you $150 to put the name on
yeah,
the car.
for the decal. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
I wish Doug luck in his endeavors. He's been riding this before, and then you got to look around and see what cars or teams on the Whelen Modified Tour and NASCAR have the need for a top-notch driver, and who could afford to spend the money that it takes to win a championship. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out with the opening of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour just around the corner. Anyway, Daytona. Well, we all know.
First thing we got to say is, you know what? Everybody's prayers and what they've been doing. I can't believe, and to me it's almost a miracle that Ryan Newman walks out of the hospital.
Yeah.
A couple of days after that crash with his kids.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Unbelievable.
It's a. It makes you look at this, the safety that NASCAR makes you go through, and we all complain about, another rule change, another this, and I believe I have a picture of the bar. We'll call it the Newman bar.
There was a couple of bars that he lobbied for
there's
to
one
put
in
in after a
particular.
crash he had.
This one actually saved his life, and I believe we have it somewhere in the thing. I'll talk about it while they're trying to find it. But what Ryan Newman did, Ryan Newman's an engineer with a master's degree in engineering. And he lobbied NASCAR back in 2003 for this one bar because it's just a halo that came around the front, and then he lobbied for a bar that kept the uprights that are on the roll cage and the bars that come off the front bumper, off the goosenecks or behind the goosenecks, and then across in front of the roof. Now, what that bar did is it helped save the bar
crush zone
here.
from the hood coming
Exactly.
down.
And that bar's not there, and we're talking a whole different story about Ryan Newman. And I believe things happen for a reason. And when you look at a guy, 7 years ago, he went to NASCAR. He went to them as an engineer and said, this is what we need. And of course, NASCAR, okay, yeah, we'll look at it. And finally they did, and they went to the R&D center, they played, they practiced. And I've been at the R&D center where they test some of these things. And I watched them roll cars down the hill in the back of the building. And just to see how they crumble and fold, and they have the G-force boxes. And it's incredible what it takes to make a rule change. Everybody thinks some guy sits in the corporate office, well, what do you say? Want to make the team spend no money? That's not how it is. It's all tested and investigated.
Yeah, but you know what? Rolling it down a hill and then getting hit upside down at 200 miles an hour.
Well, that's all
different
part of it
things.
as well. They have they have this
that's a
pendulum thing
different-
that goes up and comes down and generates the same force as being hit. It's just I can't even begin to tell you. But Ryan Newman invented that bar or lobbied NASCAR to do it, and it saved his life. So, but when you look at that crash, man, oh man, I know the pictures were flashing. I sat there watching, and I'm like, this is not good. I mean, he's airborne.
He was everywhere.
You just look at this, the way he's landing, and the way you're in these seats today. You don't move. Your body does not move, and your head is wedged in between the headrest, and he's getting hit from every angle. He's upside down. He's up in the air again. I haven't seen a crash this violent since the Richard Petty crash way back in the day that they thought Richard Petty was killed. And you see these things, and And then the safety crew was right there. And it only took about 8 minutes, supposedly, according to the NASCAR timetable, to roll the car over and get working on him. So, like you said, the prayers were answered. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing because, Ryan Newman walked out of the hospital.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable is right.
Unbelievable. And if it had anything to do with those Newman bars, that's a good thing.
Exactly. I mean, he walked out of the place with barely a limp with his 2 daughters, and you have to look up above and say, thank you. I know I did.
I mean, a lot of people, we didn't think that was a good thing. We all had bad thoughts, and we didn't want to repeat, of 20 years ago.
Right.
And unbelievable.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's all good.
Absolutely. But anyway, they raced at Daytona too.
Well, the question is, rain tires or no? What should we do? I mean, how do you make an event like that? And how many people could stay? How many people had to go home?
Yeah.
That's a big deal, right? I can't imagine them racing with rain tires, though. I couldn't imagine that.
No, it would be different. It would definitely be different. Yeah. And when I look back at, I made that mistake one year. I had an early flight the next day, like a Monday, and got rained out. And I spent all that money on tickets, and you're like, okay, they're running tomorrow. And what it was going to cost me to change my ticket, it was just, I had to be back to work. It was just a whole bunch of stuff. And
I'm sure.
So
I can't imagine because, you got so many plans. I want to get back and we got to leave and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Now you got to scramble to find a room and.
It's all different.
It's a nice.
That's got to be tough.
I don't
know if I'd be able to stick around.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd be able to do it.
Yeah, you got work obligations.
Absolutely.
I had kids. I mean, I still have kids. They were little, but it's I don't know. I don't know, but anyway, Daytona. Daytona was a busy week.
Yeah.
We have results coming out of Daytona, coming up on the screen in like a second. And it was amazing. So the NASCAR Cup Series, Denny Hamlin was the winner. Ryan Blaney was second. Chris Buescher was third. David Reagan fourth. Kevin Harvick was fifth. Clint Boyer sixth. Brendan Gaughan seventh. Corey LaJoie eighth. Ryan Newman on his roof ninth. And Kyle Larson rounding out the top 10. A lot of people complained about Denny Hamlin celebrating that victory. He just won the Daytona 500. He doesn't know what's going on the racetrack.
Yeah, actually, some of my crew is on Denny Hamlin's crew as well, and they didn't know what was happening.
No.
They thought it was a racing accident. They didn't know it was as bad as it was.
Exactly.
He apologized after the fact, but you know what? He just won the 500.
Right.
You know what I mean? You can't stop the media. You got to televise it.
Yeah.
You got things going on.
Yeah, it was a tough thing.
Not like he did it on purpose going,
No, he did not.
He didn't think that Tony was that.
You look at some people who
bad
win a street stock race at their own local racetrack, how excited they get. Denny Hamlin won the Daytona 500. It's a Super Bowl
For
tonight.
the third time.
For the third time. All right. I think we had other results out of Daytona as well. Coming up on us. Yes, the Xfinity Series was there as well. Noah Gragson was the winner there, followed by Harrison Burton. Timothy Hill was third. Brandon Jones fourth. Chase Briscoe was fifth. Justin Haley sixth. Brandon Brown was seventh. Ray Black Jr. was eighth. Ryan Sieg ninth. And Alex Labb rounding out the top 10. So that was interesting. And again, their outdoor RV Truck Series was. They changed the name to that.
The names are they're all over the place.
I believe we had results for that event as well coming up. That was also an interesting race, and I don't believe that the Truck
There was an
Series,
accident there as well, a pretty big one.
there was, and I don't think they belong on the super speedway. It's just my opinion. Not that my opinion counts, but
I think the aero might be a little tough there.
I think so because, and I've said this before. I'll say it again. Some of those truck drivers, and I wish them all well, and I don't take anything away from them. Well, the big owners are there. I'm going to do good, and I'm going to overreact, and I'm going to be excited. I'm going to try to win on the first lap because, I don't know, when we raced, what did the lead in the first lap pay?
Nothing.
Exactly. And I believe it still pays nothing. So you got to be in it to win it at the end. So then, anyway, I guess we're gonna
Well,
take
you know
a
what?
break.
There's always that thing.
There's always
Everybody wants that Steve Park phone call.
that. Yeah, they do.
They want that Steve Park phone call where it's like, you know, he stops at the local engine builder, Jack Merkel, and he goes, and I was there, and he walks in, he goes, somebody's pranking me. I got 2 phone calls from somebody telling me that they're Dale Earnhardt and they want me to race for him. Call me back.
Yeah.
And it turned out it was Dale Earnhardt.
It was Dale Earnhardt.
But everybody wants that phone call.
Yeah.
And they figure, you know what? You're driving a Saturday night feature in your street stock. If I'm going to win this race, I'll get that phone call on Monday, you know?
Yes, we will. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about some other things that are going on racing. And I believe coming up, we got some talk out of Vegas, where they ran this past weekend, when we come back.
Hey, what's I said was gonna say what's up for some reason. Hey, we're Set It Up, and you're watching the Inravio TV network.
Village Music Shop of Mastic. 1-800-HEY-DUDE. Your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop, 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com.
Hi there, this is Buddy from Less Than Jake, and you are listening to Inravio TV. You're probably watching it too.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Vegas. There was a race out there. A couple of races. 3
Yeah.
races.
They finally squeezed that in with the ring?
Yeah, wait. It rains in the desert. I mean, come on. And the worst part of that, the Xfinity race, they said following the Cup race on Fox Sports will be the race. I turned it on and it was rugby. So I go online, I'm looking in social media, and some areas of the country was rugby, some was soccer, some had curling where they throw that little tea kettle down the ice, some guys with brooms. I mean, hurling, they call hurling. What is it? I got that wrong the last time.
Curling.
Curling? Hurling?
Hurling.
Hurling is when you had too much to drink and eat.
That's right. That's the night before the race at the bar. It's hurling.
Oh, I'm shot. Oh, my shot.
That's all right. For the 500, I signed onto my account, my cable account, so I could watch it on the computer. Wouldn't come up.
No,
Said, oops, we're experiencing a problem on Fox Sports.
that's not
And
good.
and it wouldn't come up. The whole race.
I don't know. I don't get it.
I don't get it either. Especially because I was paying for it.
That's always the frustrating part. You're paying
That's
for
frustrating
it.
as well.
And
Yeah, it's bad.
I don't know. But Vegas, I don't know. Which one we got to show first? I think we have the Truck Series race first because they did run first. Yes, it is. So we have Kyle Busch the winner. Imagine that.
Go figure.
Go figure. Johnny Sauter was second, Austin Hill was third, Matt Crafton was fourth, Ben Rhodes fifth, followed by Zane Smith in sixth, Todd Gilliland seventh, Tanner Gray eighth, Stuart Friesen ninth, and Sheldon Creed rounding out the top 10 there. The Xfinity Series was there as well, and the Xfinity, Chase Briscoe was the winner there, followed by Austin Cindric. And we have Ryan Sieg, Noah Gregston in fourth, Harrison Burton fifth, Brandon Jones sixth, Michael Annett seventh, Justin Allgaier was eighth, Riley Herbst ninth, and Ross Chastain rounding out the top 10. That was a race that started like Saturday and ended sometime Sunday night.
Yeah.
You can't fight the weather. You just can't fight the weather.
They try.
They do try.
They got those jet dryers going.
Like, what I don't understand, and maybe it's me, and maybe I have this wishful thinking. It's all the money that these tracks have, and all the money that NASCAR and International Speedway Club have, and Bruton Smith has. They can't put a retractable roof on these.
I was thinking the same thing.
I went to an indoor race Saturday in Trenton, in an arena, a dirt race no less. Other than getting pelted with dirt, it was an awesome time. We're going to talk about that later. But why can't they? Baseball stadiums do it. Football stadiums do it. And those places.
I'm sure it's a cost.
Of course it is, but
think about it. I mean, that's a long race.
Yeah.
It's like you're trying to squeeze in. It's a big
guess.
event. You're talking about several hours.
Yeah.
You really have to, have blue skies.
I don't know. It's just my thing. I want to get the show in, because it's not fair to the fans.
Well, that is my concern as well. I mean, when you think about it, you sat around for the 500 for what, 7 hours?
Yeah.
Waiting for them to call it.
Well, I know we ate pretty good.
Oh, we wait
on Sunday.
Don't even get me started with that.
We ate pretty doggone good, let me tell you.
But it's very disappointing on the fans' side of the coin, But you understand it,
Yeah, I do. I mean, a little bit. It just, I don't know. I just don't. I don't know. And there's got to be a way. I mean, they're not going to stop the weather. But
it's not like with a rodeo where you can send the clowns out in the clown cars in the rain or something, doing donuts or something.
Yeah, exactly. But this, I can picture that now, like the clowns getting like a little.
They come out, they get the barrel. They
Yeah.
come out with the big pants,
Yeah.
right?
Sometimes I dress like that in a normal way. People say to me, "Why is your head always down? What are you texting?" No, I'm like looking to see who's on and trying to invite.
He's like a 14-year-old. You can't see, but he's got fuzzy slippers on underneath.
Don't make me stand up, because everybody will be like in shock. Okay, like when I iron my shirt for the show, I'm present, and I do that myself now. You know that? I used to have a driver, and I used to have a person that ironed my shirts.
Times are tight.
To budgetary costs.
If it wasn't for all these rainouts, you'd have all of that stuff back.
If it wasn't for the rainouts. Oh my goodness. Yeah. What are you gonna do? Anyway, I forgot where I was.
Moving right along.
Vegas. Did I say
Vegas? Yeah, we were there.
We did the Xfinity at Vegas. Why, I'm in a good mood today. I don't know why. What do we got here? There it is. Oh, the Cup Series. I guess we did the Xfinity.
Cup Series.
We did that.
Yep.
I'm getting ahead. I'm getting behind myself. Joey Logano was the winner there, followed by Matt DiBenedetto second, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. third. He's having a nice first
doing
couple
well.
of races after switching teams. Austin Dillon fourth, Jimmy Johnson fifth. Bubba Wallace, a nice top 10 there. Sixth, Brad Keselowski was seventh, Kevin Harvick eighth, Kyle Larson ninth, and Ty Dillon rounding out the top 10. So,
now, there's some names in there. I mean, Matt DiBenedetto, I mean,
good guy.
Interesting.
But it was a good race.
He's probably sitting next to his phone waiting for that call.
Yeah.
I
I stopped waiting for that call a long time ago. The calls I was getting is, please don't come. Do us a favor. Do us a favor. The late, great Walt Edsel. He was the head official here on Long Island at the ISA Speedway and Riverhead Raceway. And he called the driver into the office. And he says to this driver, he goes, and I'll leave the guy's name is not, it doesn't matter who the guy was. He says, so-and-so, I got a favor to ask you. In fact, the promoters of the racetrack have a favor to ask you. Now, this guy's getting all pumped up. He's like, the owners of the racetrack want to ask you a favor. In fact, gosh darn it, NASCAR wants to ask you a favor. What do you need? Please don't come back. Just wanted him to race no more, because he was like a menace, But the guy just wanted to race. He thought he was doing
Was that me?
No, it wasn't you. No, you missed it by that much.
No, I got it. It took me a while, but I got it. I missed it a lot by that much, but I got it.
Oh, yeah, but Vegas, you know, it's a cookie cutter, mile and a half.
Of course.
Chicagoland, Kansas, Texas.
You think by now they'd have it down pat?
What they need to do when they have that race, they need to play music. Because all that was a parade without a band, in my opinion. You know, and this pushing, that's got to go. And my suggestion to stop the pushing is raise the front bumpers. I mean, raise the rear bumpers or lower the front bumpers. And that pushing stuff will stop. Because that's what some of these crashes are caused by. And some of these wrecks are big.
Well, Ryan Newman was kind of all over the place. He was trying to block.
Yeah.
And he got bumped.
Yeah.
And none of that was good. Yeah. But yeah, they gotta separate these cars a little bit and give a little more drivability back.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt, because...
But I mean, hey, you know, we could say that till the cows come home.
Yeah, it's, you know, when you look at a modified, it's a whole different layout. They're not aerodynamic to a degree. But when you look at a Cup car, Xfinity car, even in the Gander cars, the trucks, I should say, you know, you start beating and banging on the back end, and it's, you know, it's bumper to bumper. We use that camera, bumper to bumper, and you're kind of pushing the guy. You're taking the guy in the front who's getting banged, the air's going over him or her, and then it's going to the tail end of the guy pushing. They call it drafting. And what happens is they start going faster, and just somebody gets a little squirrely, they're going in the fence.
Absolutely.
And they're going in
because they're
hard.
on edge. I mean, everybody's got it, you know. I mean, you saw what it was. I mean, how much have they been taken away from these cars, and yet they're still coming over the 200-mile-an-hour mark?
Right, right.
You know, and they're just, I would like to see one guy, let's put Bill Elliott in the car and give him, you know, go ahead, you know,
Take the plate off.
Take the plate off and let's see what happens.
You know,
is he going to be doing 275? What's he going to be doing?
I mean, there's a person who's in Facebook Live. He was saying, you know, go back to what I was just saying. You know, take the aero away and give them the '86 style bodies and no roof spoilers.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy has a point.
He does, absolutely.
The guy has a point. Because you look back and, you know, look at the Buicks back in those days, the Plymouths, the Ford, the Thunderbird was built by Ford for NASCAR. And you look at those cars.
Oh, you're talking about the Super B or whatever?
You know, yeah. You know, when you look at that,
what was that, the Super B, Superbird?
Well, when
the one with the wing?
Yeah, no, that was the Plymouth that Richard Petty and Bobby Hamilton,
Buddy Baker.
Buddy Baker.
200, what did he do? Over 200 miles an hour?
Yeah, 220 he did at Talladega.
With that
Buddy
car.
Baker, yeah. And then Jim Hamilton, he had that car as well. But when you look at that, you know, take the spoilers, lower the spoilers. Take some of the aero away, take the plates off, make the drivers drive the car. Because I'd have a big set too if I had all this downforce and I could just flat-foot it and bang into somebody and go faster, you know. But I just watched my video.
But now, if you did that, wouldn't you wind up at the IROC series again? Which was basically just to follow the leader and, you know, hopscotch back and forth. Who's going to be leapfrog this way, leapfrog that way?
You almost would, but you know, and
because you'd have to be in a pack of threes and get the arrow, and you'd still have somebody behind you pushing you. And
see, we got to eliminate that pushing, because that causes, so far it's week 2, and we're getting wrecks from the arrow pushes, and guys thinking, I could beat and bang this guy, we're going to go faster. And I saw an in-car scene with Logano. I'm not sure if it was the end of last year, but they had an in-car camera, and somebody came up and gave him that bump to push him, and his whole body shook. Now, if he did that with the steering wheel, we'll go to that camera. If he did that, he would have been in the fence.
You're over, yeah.
You know?
Because they're so on edge. It's the way it is.
They're right on the edge. You know?
I mean, they do this simulation stuff before they even start the race.
Right.
And these simulators are so dead on, so spot on. And, you know, you can see some of the drivers, I'm sure, if you go to YouTube, and you can see some videos of them doing a simulator.
Right.
And that's all they do is a little wiggle like that, and next thing you know, they're out.
You're boom.
They're spinning around. Once they get going, there's no saving it.
Right. It's not.
You know, that pass through the grass thing is that was a once-in-a-lifetime gig.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but that was a different car, different animal.
Totally different car. you know, the chassis wasn't that much different, but the body was pretty much the same. And when you look at the technology of the cars today, they're built on late 60s technology chassis-wise. They're still running the V8s. They're still running at the same transmissions, the same rear ends. And the Gen 6 car is going to change all that. And I'm interested to see how the Gen 6 car comes out. I believe it's coming out 2021. How that's going to change racing. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not an engineer, but I know what I see, and I've been around this sport forever and ever. I don't think that's the way to go. Don't go try to reinvent. Go back to what worked. Go back to what worked back in the day, back in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, when they were stock production cars. That you could go to your local dealership
and buy that car. And that's why that Super Bird or Super B, whatever it was, I know I was corrected before.
Right.
But whatever that car was specifically made by them, by the company, so that they could run that in NASCAR.
Or NASCAR.
Because it had to be a NASCAR, it had to be a production car. Here's a production car, got a big wing on it, take it out, run it.
Take it out, run it.
And they beat the pants off of everybody.
Everybody. And the only thing NASCAR could do is, they're not going to, these other manufacturers, you know, Ford and Chevy, they were not going to go put big high spoilers on the cars. So they outlawed the big spoiler.
The big spoiler.
For the Chryslers and the Plymouths.
And spoiler alert, Dodge is out.
Dodge is out.
I mean, so what do you do to bring these rest of these car companies in?
And you know, you got Camry. Okay.
We talked about that. No Ford. I know, no four-door Camry.
Two-door Camry with a V8 rear-wheel drive. Doesn't exist.
But what do you do if you can't do that? What do you do if you're going to want to get Honda and all the rest of these companies in? What do you do to get them involved? You have to, because you see the people here. You know, we're all racing people. Everybody that's watching us, these aren't the people grabbing the fences, and I tell people that. These aren't the people grabbing the fences. These are the people turning the wrenches, that own the teams. These are the people that are racing the cars. These are the people that are behind the scenes who are racing in these different divisions. And what do you do to bring these other people and the millennials in to watch?
Right.
Because at some point, that's what they're into. They're into these, you know, these other cars, these other manufacturers. What do you do to get them involved? If you can't do that, what do you do?
You know, it's funny. When I was a kid growing up, and I grew up, you know, when I first started driving in 1975. Yes, I am old, and I can remember 231 in Babylon, North Babylon, Deer Park, just with your muscle cars cruising up and down the street.
Sure.
And then you get up to next somebody, and you knew exactly what the quarter-mile mark was, and somebody dropped a hat, and off you went.
Did you have the cigarettes in your T-shirt rolled up?
I never smoked.
Did you do any of that?
No, I didn't smoke.
Just for looks, because everybody had to roll
up
in the T-shirt?
People don't believe it. People who knew me back then, I dressed like I was going to an office every day. So I didn't fit in with those people. So I was the guy that just, you know, what we called the cruising the gut, just cruising it, you know, hey, you doing? How's it going? You know, and then parking on, you know, McDonald's and, you know, a hamburger joint and watching everybody else. But now these kids, they have these little low slung, the wheels are all cambered.
But it's the same thing. It's just only a little different.
Yeah.
You know, they park in the parking lot. They're showing off their wares. They go out and they run those things too. But you know what? For them, they got autocross. They've got all these different other types of things. The drifting is a big deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
And you got Ken Block is like the Uber drifter out there doing drifting.
Right.
So there's other things for these kids now to focus on.
Yeah, there's a lot of
you know, with these changes with NASCAR, I'm wondering if they're addressing any of that.
No, I don't think they are. I don't think they can't see the forest through the trees because they have now people in the corporate castle sitting around the big table who, and I'll say this, never got their hands dirty and there's no grease under their fingernails. They never worked on these cars. They never drove these cars. And Big Bill France and his son, Bill Jr., they worked on them. They built them. They raced them. They wrecked them. They fixed them. And then you have Brian France, who I don't think he went to a race until he became like in charge. And even then he wasn't in charge because when Pocono was here, he was in Hamptons. And we're not going to say what happened when he was in the Hamptons.
I get you.
You know
But
what I mean?
what about if they had a division that was like a four-cylinder division?
I love it.
Would that be interesting?
Yeah.
They probably wouldn't make it on the super speedway, right?
No, they wouldn't. They'd blow up. They'd probably blow up.
You'd have to give them like a little spot, a
Yeah.
little part of the.
Yeah.
Maybe that should be the new Xfinity series. They're
There
out
you
there
go.
in Hondas and Toyotas.
Yeah, because what's the difference between the Xfinity car and a Cup car? Very little.
Very little.
Very little.
But I think that's part of the plan because in the next step up to the Cup cars,
Yeah.
it's you know
Nah, we'll see.
it's easy to drive, right?
Oh, yeah. Anyway, we got to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about what went on in Arizona with the NHRA when we come back.
Hi, I'm Remington.
I'm Emerson.
And I'm Sebastian.
We're Palais Royale, and you're watching Inravio TV.
There we go.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Inravio can get your message out there. And we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Inravio.com.
Hey, this is Chris Les Jake, and if Inravio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
Hi, this is Mike Jarecki from My Race News, and you're watching the Inravio TV network.
Hey guys, this is Jibs from Ocean's 8, Alaska, and you're watching Inravio TV Network.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
NHRA.
Oh.
NHRA had the NHRA Arizona Nationals this past weekend. And we had there, the top few was Steve Torrance was the winner there. Funny car was Tommy Johnson Jr. And the pro stock was Erica Anders, the winners there in those series. Now, I haven't been to a drag race, whether it was professional, amateur, whatever it was, other than 231 when I was a kid, but since National Speedway back in the 70s. And we worked on my buddy's car all week long. And he made a pass, we loaded up and left, and I was like, huh? And it took like forever, it was like all day. And when you watch it on TV, it's like one right after the other, right after the other, right after the other. And a friend of mine calls them the parachute cars. And you know, when you think about it, you know, yeah, I guess it would be pretty interesting to watch. But I would like to go down to Charlotte where they're racing, the ZMAX Speedway, where they're racing 4 cars at once. It cuts the time in half. And you're eliminating 3 at a time instead of 1.
Are they in a hurry? They're doing 4-second quarter miles.
Yeah, but you know what it is all right, now they get they drag the guy off or the girl, and a lot of girls in that, and they drag them, and now the other guy rolls up, and they do their burnouts, and they back up, and they stage up, and I guess they call it the tree.
The tree.
The
But
tree.
they still do that with the 4 lanes anyway.
Yeah, but they're doing it like a fourth of the time. I can do that. I can't watch.
Well,
like,
you know, personally,
and then boom, it's over next.
But here's my thought. If you got 4 lanes to deal with, you put 2 on 2 lanes, let them do their burnouts, all the rest of the stuff, and let them go. While they're going, the other guys are already getting set up.
Yeah.
So you just go to the other
guess.
set of track and go. Right?
I
It's
gotta
kind
go.
of like when you go to a concert.
Yeah.
You got to wait for him to break the band down and bring the other guy up, and he's got to. Oh wait, my cymbal's not at the right angle, and he's got
gotta be at the right
He's
angle.
got to beat every drum like 100 times to make
Yeah.
sure it's right.
What's wrong with that? I'm a drummer. What's wrong with that?
Because it takes time. You're talking like half hour, 45 minutes to get these guys set up.
But
So now, if you had 2 stages, or 3 stages, or 4 stages, you set up a set of boneheads. I mean, musicians over there.
Musicians.
And you have them bang up, and they play their songs while they're doing a thing. Everybody else is set up. You just go to the next stage. All you do is you look at a different place.
Well,
Right, you bring your
yes.
attention now to a different place. So they're breaking down, another guy's setting up, and you just go to bring your attention to another stage, and you just keep looking back and forth. How great is that?
But
It's
you're
nonstop
a
music.
guitar player.
Everybody's pressed for time because we all got to get back home. We got to go to Home Depot, check ourselves out, and go to work the next morning.
But you're a guitar player. 6 strings. Ding, 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 ding. Okay, we're good. But I'm a drummer. Boom, boom, boom. And the sound guy's going up, down, okay. And the cymbal, each cymbal has to be right. Wait, this one's not at the right angle. You got 9 pieces of drums.
That's all well and good.
And like 8 cymbals, your hi-hat.
That's good.
Your double bass. I mean, come on.
That's why you got multiple stages. You got that guy over there doing his thing while these guys are playing.
Well, like on the match, what do they call it? The match game. And the new contestants spin around, they come out.
They pull the curtain and they off.
There you go. Anyway, what do we got?
The match game.
The match game.
Not
I watched
dating
that.
yourself there, huh?
I watched that show. Anyway, like I said earlier, I went to the Cure Insurance Arena in Trenton, New Jersey, for the East Coast Indoor Dirt Nationals, and John Keller was the winner. And let me tell you about how they did this. Talk about they could have did this differently.
They took a hockey rink. They
and
brought in like a gazillion
Tons of
yards
dirt.
of dirt
Yeah.
and just piled it all over the place.
Oh yeah. Oh.
Made a track out of it.
And they
they-
watered it, and they pounded it down, and cars came out and drove on it, got it hard again. Well, here's the thing that I didn't understand. Like 4 guys were solid in based on Friday night's qualifying. So now, after they figured out who's left, they have an E-main. They're going to do an E-main, take the top 4 out of 12. Then they're going to have a D-main. Now, the guys who qualified in the E-main moved to the D-main,
Okay.
but they start last.
So they're moving up to the A main.
So the D-main, 10 laps, take 4.
Okay.
Whoever the top 4 there,
That's it.
go to the C-main.
The top 4 go to the C main. Now wait a minute. Who's they're in there by themselves?
No, there's like 12 cars.
So what do
Based
they
on
pick? They
qualifying.
pick out of a hat?
No, they were based on time trials and qualifying the night before.
Oh, so if you wind up in the E main, you could be racing for like
All night long.
All night long.
Oh, yeah. Now, the top 4 in the D main go to the C main. Meantime, there's like 10, 12, 14 cars in that. And then the C main goes, now there's 2 B mains because there's so many now.
Why, they didn't have enough alphabets? They couldn't
I
start
don't
it
know.
F?
Yeah, well, they called it the alphabet, the mains. And then 25 cars start the feature.
The feature.
To
25
do
cars.
50 laps. John Keller, who was the winner, the 50 lapper, started last in the E main and worked his way up, made it in the top 4 in each main going up to start in the back of the A main to win $5,000.
Well, he had the most seat time, so
Oh,
he
my
knew
goodness.
exactly what it was going to take to get around that track.
And there's very little time to go change anything because the only thing they would do is they maybe rough up the track a little bit, throw some water on it, and then a grader would come and flatten it all out and back racing again. And I'll tell you what, the show moved, and my hat's off to Lenny Salmons, from publisher of Area Auto Racing News. He did a nice job with this and always does. He does the AC races as well. And I'll tell you what, I never saw an indoor dirt race. I've been going to Atlantic City since the 70s, on the asphalt. I never saw a dirt race indoors. And yeah, you got pelted with the dirt, but they used the same dirt that they use at East Windsor Speedway in Jersey. There was no dust. I mean, you got pelted no matter where you sat.
Did you have face shield?
No, I didn't. I didn't even blink. I just leaned over. I had the front row. I was like this. And it's bam, 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 all over. I didn't like it was on my clothes because I had to get in my truck, and I didn't want mud and dirt all over my truck. But your face you could wash in the men's room. Your clothes, you're stuck, you know. But anyway.
You should have brought a rain jacket.
I should have, but I didn't.
One of those big yellow school bus
Oh,
ones.
man. But anyway. I want to get back to this Doug Coby thing. It's really bothering me. And we got a lot of people.
Is it rubbing you the wrong way?
It is. It really is, because the guy is talented. The guy is a 6-time champion. I can't see like Richie Evans being in this position, the late Richie Evans or Charlie Jazombek, being rideless after winning a championship, which happened to be number 6. Is it politics so he doesn't beat out the other guys that, you know, have 7? I don't know. I just don't understand it. Doug Coby's a nice guy.
And that's why nobody will give him a ride?
I don't know. You know there's politics in NASCAR.
Of course there is.
You know, it's not politics.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe whatever the deal is not sweetened enough for it to make it happen, you know?
I'm sure he could work out a deal with the sponsors. You know, he brought them a lot of exposure, and I'm sure in the internet world, we talk about a lot of impressions. You know, going to, what's Mayhew Tools? Oh, let's see what they got. And I'm sure some people bought tools from it. Did they buy, you know, whatever, $100,000 worth? I don't know. But the guy's a 6-time champion. Why is he not in the series? You know, I don't understand.
But it's not over yet. Because really, did their season start?
In a few weeks. It's tough to put a solid team together that fast. And they're starting from scratch now. They have nothing.
That doesn't mean he doesn't jump in somebody else's seat, though.
Well, he could. But why hasn't somebody come forward and say, hey, listen, I have this extra car, and why don't you take it out, and you know, we'll give you all the support. I'm sure his whole crew would come back. Would they be paid what Mike Smigo was paying them? I don't know. I'm not privy to that. I'm not the IRS.
Might be, see, that's what I'm saying. The deal might not be right for him.
I guess,
who knows?
He's upset about it. So, and he's a racer. And I'm sure he's not going to hop into a back market car. That was a whole big discussion on social media. But he's a competitor. He wants to win. And if he can't win, the deal's not going to be right. Like you said, it might not be the right deal. But there's a lot of competitive cars that are not racing. And they're parked. And maybe it's because of the cost. Maybe because of the travel. You know?
I would say it has to do with all of that. But here's the story. If you're a winning driver, you just won the championship, the guy who owns your car is selling the car, you've got a complete team in place, you've got all the equipment. Tell me you couldn't go to him and say, listen, let's make a deal.
That had to be a big deal. Had to be a big deal.
He's dealing in real estate. He couldn't make a deal and say, come on.
I'm sure he could. He's a salesman. But
you make a deal. Here, I'll pay you X number of dollars every month or something.
Yeah.
Pay a vig.
Like, you know, yeah.
You know what I mean? Whatever it is. What are we talking about? Keep everybody going.
Yeah.
Part of the problem is that in order to keep everybody going, you got to come up with that money. Yeah. And I think part of the problem with that was that there was no money to be had. Unless you had somebody with deep pockets to pay the money. It wasn't like the team was financially secure and making money.
Right.
Most of these teams are not. If that was the case, they'd all be racing all the time.
When the champion,
we'd have an E main, a D main, right, a C, 2 Bs. We'd have 16 As.
But you know, when the champion loses 150,000 racing, what is the guy in the back of the pack losing?
You don't want to know.
No, you know.
But he's probably not losing as much because he can't afford to put that kind of money in. He'd be in the front.
Right. He's not paying his crew chief. They don't have wind tunnel time.
That's right.
They don't have 2 of the best motors, one on the shelf just in case one blows. You know, that they bring to the track. 2 cars. You know, double sacker.
The best crew, the best equipment.
Right.
Soup to nuts. Yeah. There's nothing you want for.
Yeah.
If anything comes out, you know, Troy, they make the first call to you because, you know, hey, we want you to try it first.
Right. Which I'm surprised. See, that used to be, Troya had house cars. LFR, I'm sure, has house cars, ready, sitting to go. Why aren't one of those cars stepping up? And, you know, hopefully I could talk to Doug and find out why that's happened, or even Phil Moran during the week, and we'll follow up next week with that. But it's just interesting how that all comes to play. Anyway, hey, I want to wish get well to Gary Dion. Guy I know, I met him through the Modified Tour. He had knee replacement surgery. And he works in movies. He's worked in a lot of movies. He worked in that movie Ford versus Ferrari. He made the cars, some of the cars for it. So, Gary, I believe you're watching. So here, all of us at 505 On and Ultimate Media want to wish you would get well. One of those good guys in our business. And Ray Bouchard, it's good to see that you're back and running around. Ray, I believe, is a 3-time Gold Wrench Award winner for crewing champion cars here on the island. So it's good to see you. And Jay Slice, he said something before. He said, when we were talking about what is the lap 1 pay, he goes, whatever last place pays.
Whatever the last lap pays, yeah, to win.
So that's all good. But I don't know. I look at some of this stuff and what's going on in racing, and it's not the same. It's not the same when we raced, and when we raced, it wasn't the same when we were little kids sitting on the other side of the fence. It just keeps changing, but as often as it changes, it's still kind of the same. There's still cars going in a circle on a racetrack somewhere.
Right. But see, now you're saying this, and you're making me think about the 2 old guys from the Muppets up in the balcony. Is what you got me going here. It's not the same when we were young.
It's funny. One of the last times I went to a race when I was a kid, and I remember these 2 old men smoking big cigars, drinking their beers, with their flannel coats and their, with their Elmer Fudd hats.
The flannel hat.
Yeah. Yep. And they're sitting there, back in my day, and I'm sitting there, I'm like 12, I'm like, I hope I'm not that way.
Too late.
So here it is, it's like September, I'm at Riverhead, and I became that guy.
70 years later.
I'm that guy. I'm all of a sudden, I'm that guy. Back in my day, we had 30 cars in the feature. Oh my God,
we were sending cars home.
Right? No more. You show up, you're in.
That's it.
And when you race, how many cars
if
came
we
when you
didn't
raced?
qualify going forwards, we qualified going backwards.
Going backwards. There were 40 cars in your class when you raced.
We had a lot of cars
and
in
they
my
took
class.
24.
I remember it took me quite a while to qualify to get into my first feature. And I remember the first feature I drove.
How many years? How many years did it take?
Oh, I don't know. It wasn't years.
Mine was years.
Yours was years?
1978, took my first green. I did not get into my first feature until 1989. Now, I didn't race every year.
How many years?
Well, we do the math, 89 minus 78, that's 11.
11 years.
11.
Really?
Yeah.
There were that many cars?
I started 33rd in a Consi, a B-main. They take 2.
They take 2.
That's how many cars there were. I didn't stand the chance. My friend goes, why are you wasting tires and gas? I said, I came here to race. I race.
I remember I went out and I won whatever the Consi was. I think we had 2 or 3 Consis. But I went out and I won that Consi. I was like a man on a mission. I won the Consi. And I was new to racing in the Charger division. But and it's just the Charger division. But before that, I wasn't racing any kind of a real race car, right?
Right.
So I win this, and now here I am in the feature, and I'm starting in the back or whatever I was. I don't think I was dead back, but I was pretty far back. But I was amazed at how much faster the cars went. We did the heat races and we did the consies for quite a while before we got in there. Yeah. But I'm in the feature and I'm like, I can let go of the wheel and the car's just going to keep going.
Yeah.
It's like they were pulling me around. I know we had Novas. It wasn't like we had any kind of aerodynamics. No. But I was just amazed at how fast they were going. And it was just like, and the car was just kind of like following along.
Oh, yeah.
Like it knew where it needed to go.
No.
But that first car I had a Freeport championship, had an Islip championship, it had a Riverhead championship. Right. It won the Race of Champions.
Cars had history.
That car had a lot of history. 75 Chevy Nova. I probably watched that car running when I was a 7-year-old kid in the stands in Freeport.
Now, I'm sure some of you, yourself included, saw on social media that my little butt is going to be in Live Hours, Long Island Vintage Auto Racing, and in a modified.
And the pizza box modified.
The pizza box modified, as Fast Al Amarino says. Hope there's not a pizza box firewall. One day we're going to dedicate a show to that. But anyway, yeah, a car owned by Stephen and Kevin Basic. And we're also going to race near the New England Auto Racers Club at Stafford and Thompson and Waterford. And there's about a 15 race schedule. I don't at the moment plan on racing all of the races because I'm old and I just don't have the time.
So you're racing in near?
Yeah, not nearby, but
you're racing in near.
Yeah.
What about far?
We haven't signed any deals with far
Forget about racing. You're 1,000. You should be racing in far. Forget about racing.
Forget about racing. I didn't get that right away. Forget about racing. That's good. That's good.
Once you get airlifted to the hospital once, you should be racing in far.
But that was like that was like a whole generation ago.
And thank God.
Yeah.
Okay, because you might not have had that extra generation ago. You know what I'm saying?
For those who don't know, they peeled me off the wall with a putty knife once, and they left some of my bones there. Remember George Brown?
I remember George
For those
Brown.
watching, downtown George Brown was one of the most wildest drivers you'd ever want to meet, but he was a sweetheart when you got him one-on-one.
When he wasn't chasing you across the track with a 2x4.
Exactly, or climbing the fence and trying to get into the press box to get to the head
flag
officials.
stand, yeah.
But George called me when I got out of the hospital way back when, and he goes, "I'm gonna kick you." I said, "For what?" I was unconscious. He goes, "Your leg bones cost me a flat because they were on the track. They didn't clean them up." But that's George's way of saying, "Hey, I hope you're all right, guy." Now, if you didn't know George, you'd say, "This guy's an idiot."
Mm-hmm.
You know, but that's how it was. But yeah, I'll be driving this modified, and I'm being told different things. Some people tell me you kind of just ride around and put on a show with the vintage
That's
cars.
not gonna happen.
And then some people tell me you're racing, like Don Howe, the multi-time NASCAR champion, is racing in live bars. Jimmy Kelly, who was a guest on our show, is in live bars. I'm gonna have some fun.
When you put a race car driver in any kind of a vehicle that moves, he's not just driving around, bro. Come on, you saw the guys at the supermarket with the shopping carts and the walkers?
Yeah.
They're still racing down the
Well, the guys
aisle.
with those little the carts, the
The little
electric
carts, yeah.
And they bump you and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they're not messing around.
I gotta have fun.
They're going for the gold.
But yeah, I know the car owner doesn't watch our show often because he has a show of his own at the same time. But you know who's here and not there. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Not a knock on his show. He works hard at putting it together. But yeah, and I'm trying to convince my old crew chief to come out of retirement. I don't hear anything, Joe. But anyway, he's got to check his schedule. But one of the best crew chiefs I ever had. Joe Cicella. And Ray Bouchard is still taking care of family cars, so he's not available. So, you know, you want the best. You want the best. And you only
You
go
got to
to
pay for it.
You only go to the second best.
How much can you afford to go?
I'm the driver.
How fast?
I'm just the wheelman. There's a whole other person
Well,
who
you
takes
got
care of
that
paying.
whole NASCAR team. I think there's a crew chief that's available.
And Roger Roxy's going
Should
back
give him a
street
call.
stock racing, so who would have thought of that? Roger Roxy.
He should be racing at far too.
Yeah, he should be, and he's a lot older than I am. Forget about race. I gotta remember. I gotta write that down. Far. I'm like, far. What's
Write
far?
these things down. I'll forget about tomorrow.
Fellow auto racers, and folks.
Forget about racing.
Forget about. Anyway, so the control room is waving. They jump up and down. They're probably hungry, so you're coming to the end. In fact, I think we're at that point.
We are at the end.
We're at the end. So thanks, Lada. We had fun tonight. We always do. That's why we do this. And I want to thank everybody for taking time out of your busy schedules to be a part of this show tonight, because we always have fun with you guys and girls.
Absolutely.
So we'll be back next week, and we'll have results out of Auto Club Speedway for the top 3 series. And hopefully we'll have some news from Doug Coby and Phil Moran as to what their plans are in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. And we'll have most of that stuff for you next week.
That's right. So be safe, be careful, And, hey, say a prayer for these guys that are running fast, boy, I tell you.
Absolutely, yeah, especially me. Because I don't want to be in the far class. We'll see everybody next week. Good night, everybody.
Good night.